Got it. All right. Good. We're good to go, as they say. And share screen. And there we are. Okay. Uddhava's messages and instructions save the gopis.
Got it.
From
All
immediate.
right.
Oh
Good.
no.
We're good to go, as they
I
say.
have to shut that off.
And share screen. And there we are.
Good. Hope my voice doesn't come through.
You're doing good.
Okay. Back here. Back to where we were. I have to stop the screen share and I have to find. Okay. I'll get the slideshow back up. Okay, great. And then share the screen. And there we are. Okay, Uddhava's messages and instructions save the gopis from immediate death, and the gopis acknowledged the benediction from Uddhava. Uddhava practically acted as the preceptor, spiritual master of the gopis, and they in turn worshipped him as they would worship Krishna. It is recommended in authoritative scriptures that the spiritual master should be worshipped on the level of the Supreme Personality of Godhead because of his being his very confidential servitor, and it is accepted by great authorities that the spiritual master is the external manifestation of Krishna. The gopis were relieved from their transcendental burning condition by realizing that Krishna was with them. Internally, they remembered his association within their hearts, and externally, Uddhava helped them to appreciate Krishna by conclusive instructions. So your turn, Dineshwar Prabhu. Does it start the Supreme Personality?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead is described in the scriptures as adhoksaja, which indicates that he is beyond the perception of all material senses. Although he is beyond the perception of material senses, he is present in everyone's heart. At the same time, he is present everywhere by his all-pervasive feature of Brahman. All three transcendental features of the Absolute Truth, Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, Paramatma, the localized supersoul, and the all-pervasive Brahman, can be realized simply by studying the condition of the gopis in their meeting with Uddhava as described by the Srimad Bhagavatam. It is said by Srinivasacharya that the 6 Goswamis were always merged in the thoughts and activities of the gopis. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has also recommended the gopis' method of worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as super excellent. Srila Sukadeva Goswami has also recommended that anyone who hears from the right source about the dealings of the gopis with Krishna and who follows the instructions will be elevated to the topmost position of devotional service and will be able to give up the lust of material enjoyment.
Shikarani, did you want to read?
Yeah. It's, oh, yeah. All the gopis from there.
Yeah.
All the gopis were solaced by the instruction of Uddhava, and they requested him to stay in Vrindavana for a few days more. Uddhava agreed to their proposal and stayed with them not only for a few days but for a few months. He always kept them engaged in thinking of the transcendental message of Krishna and his pastimes. And the gopis were feeling as if they were experiencing direct association with Krishna. While Uddhava remained in Vrindavana, the inhabitants enjoyed his association. As they discussed the activities of Krishna, the days passed just like moments. Vrindavana's natural atmosphere with the presence of the river Yamuna, its nice orchards of trees decorated with various fruits, Govardhan Hill, caves, blooming flowers, all combined to inspire Uddhava to narrate Krishna's pastimes. The inhabitants enjoyed Uddhava's association in the same way as they enjoyed the association of Krishna.
Has anyone else arrived or is it just us three?
Those three.
Okay. Uddhava was attracted by the attitude of the gopis because they were completely attached to Krishna, and Uddhava was inspired by the gopis' anxiety for Krishna. He began to offer them his respectful obeisances and composed songs in praise of their transcendental qualities as follows, quote, among all the living entities who have accepted the human form of life, the gopis are super excellently successful in their mission. Their thought is thoroughly absorbed in the lotus feet of Krishna. Great sages and saintly persons are also trying to be absorbed in meditation upon the lotus feet of Krishna, who is Mukunda himself, the giver of liberation. But the gopis, having lovingly accepted the Lord, are automatically accustomed to this habit. They do not depend on any yoga practice. The conclusion is that one who has attained the gopis' condition of life does not have to take birth as Lord Brahma or be born in a Brahmin family or be initiated as a Brahmin. Daneshwar Prabhu.
Sri Uddhava confirmed the statement of the Bhagavad Gita spoken by Lord Krishna. One who takes shelter of him for the right purpose, be he a Sudra or lower, will attain the highest goal of life. The gopis have set the standard of devotion for the whole world. By following the footsteps of the gopis, by constantly thinking of Krishna, one can attain the highest perfectional stage of spiritual life. The gopis were not born in any highly cultured families. They were born of cowherd men, and yet they developed the highest love of Krishna. For self-realization or God realization, there's no need to take birth in a high family. The only thing needed is ecstatic development of love of God. In achieving perfection in Krishna consciousness, no other qualification is required than to be constantly engaged in the loving service of Krishna. Krishna is the supreme nectar, the reservoir of all pleasure. The effect of taking up Krishna consciousness is just like that of drinking nectar. With or without one's knowledge, it will act. The active principle of Krishna consciousness will manifest itself everywhere. It does not matter how or where one has taken his birth. Krishna will bestow his benedictions upon anyone who takes the Krishna consciousness without any doubt. The supreme benediction attained by the gopis, in spite of their being born in the family of cowherd men, was never attained even by the goddess of fortune herself, and certainly not by the denizens of heaven, though their bodily forms are like lotuses. The gopis are so fortunate that during the Rasa Leela, Krishna personally embraced them with his arms. Krishna kissed them face to face. Certainly, it is not possible for any woman in the three worlds to achieve this except the gopis.
Do you mind if we pause for a moment for me to ask a question and make a brief comment?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so one thought that came to my mind is I found it interesting to read how the environment of Vrindavan was conducive to remembering Krishna and Krishna's pastimes just by being there. So I was thinking about the fortunate devotees that are there, that are able to do that. Although it can be challenging. You know, I remember the first time I went and I saw the big hogs and the monkeys ready to rip you off any chance they had. You know, but I would make reference to, okay, I have to remember the Krishna book right now. I can't get distracted by Radharani condos and, you know, buy this piece of real estate here and all the distractions. So I guess you call that Gupta Vrindavan, right?
Yeah, well, you know, when you were saying that about being in Vrindavan, since I've been reading Govinda Lilamrita, when I think of Vrindavan, I don't think of present day Vrindavan. I think of Vrindavan that I read in Govinda Lilamrita. And that's a world of love. When I read that, I just get immersed in this whole, it's just a world of love. Everybody loves Krishna. And to me, that's what Vrindavan is. It's not the place, the geographical place over there near Mathura.
It's not Lal Bazaar.
Place where everybody's just focused and full of love for Krishna.
Yes, you are right, Prabhu. I think that's how I also perceive it, because I have mostly seen it in serials and movies in India, and they always show it in the past, like how it was during that time. So that was not at all modern or like commercialized how it is now. So what you are talking, like, that is exactly how they portray in the serials. So when I think of Vrindavan, I also think of it in the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I, when I think of
Another,
physical Vrindavan, it's like, it's not attractive to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, it's not.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's true. It's true. I
Yes.
remember I used to love walking on the Parikram Marg, just with the funky, natural, earthy road. Now everything's paved over. People
Yeah.
like driving their motorcycle like madman, hitting the cows. It's like that. This is not.
Yes. Yes.
No,
Vrindavan was a village. Now what we have, that is more like a town or a city. It's nowhere close.
yeah. Sikarani, you're sitting in the dark.
Yeah.
Another thought that came to me was how the gopis, Prabhupada said they were not from a highly cultured family. They were from, like cowherds. And I was
Mm.
thinking, well, wait a minute. Coming from a cowherd family is a highly cultured family. So what's Prabhupada actually talking about? With he's Kshatriya family, queens, that?
What I was thinking about when we were reading that is, I was thinking, how does one become qualified to take birth in those cowherd families? Like you say, that's a high birth, because no ordinary peoples are being born in Vrindavan during Krishna's Boma Leela.
Yeah.
Say that
That's
again. No,
No ordinary person is
yeah,
qualified to be born in those cowherd families
no,
at the time of Krishna's Boma Leela.
right. You have
So
had to.
I mean, that's the secret, right? How do you get birth in those families? And I read someplace, I can't remember where, but there's one, I think it's Chaitanya Charitamrita, but there's one personality who kind of oversees that, who is born in those families during Krishna's Boma Leela. I want to look that up because I want to pray to that personality for their mercy.
Yes. I find that ironical. I know of I won't mention any names, but I know of one devotee born into a family of a cowherding family, Western devotee, in a very influential position. But for whatever reason, I really couldn't understand it. Why, even though he was born with cows and born in an agrarian environment, that's not something that he's preached about through his Krishna conscious career. And there was, I couldn't understand the disconnect that if you're born into something, that would be like your expertise, right? But I guess
Maybe modern farm, modern dairy farm. I don't know. Maybe the parents thought it better send my kid to college so that he doesn't have to work hard on the farm.
That's true. He did go on to study at university or college for some time. Yeah. And it was more about the arts. It wasn't about
Yeah.
So it's funny how in Kali, with the Kali Yuga mindset, we don't look at farming people. Of course, farming isn't what it used to be, but it's not been considered so exalted. It's not what's actually been revered. More, if you can function in the downtown cities in the financial sector, that's defined, quote unquote, as success.
Yeah, well, modern dairy farming is a business. They're not protecting animals. They're trying to get money. The whole object is money.
It's true. I've gone locally because I am in the countryside and I'm surrounded by farms all around me. And I've gone out because when I lived in Quebec, I would go. I also spent 1 year living in the deep countryside, and I would go walk up the road, and I'd get a gallon of fresh milk with an inch or two of cream on the top, and for $2. And the farmer didn't mind giving it to me. But when I asked locally, all the local farmers were freaked out. They were like, "Oh no, no!" He said, "I could lose my entire farm if the Canadian government finds out that I gave you a jug of milk. I could lose my job. I could lose my business. I could lose my farm."
Imagine that.
I thought, "Wow, it's a mafia."
Weird. Yeah. For giving away, a gallon of milk.
And they have to own like several. I don't know if it's how many 100 acres, or like they need to have like a lot of land, a
Yeah.
lot of cows, and it's all industrialized. One thing I did notice is up the road was a commercial dairy, and you walk in and you could smell the ammonia, and it had a kind of a industrialized vibe about it. But then I heard there was a fellow in St. Elizabeth de Tingwick, another village, another 5-10 kilometers away, that was all organic. And when I walked in, there was no aroma of ammonia and chlorine. And I don't know if I understood correctly, but there was a goat being kept in the barn because I was told that the goat will catch any illness and help the cows to avoid getting ill. The illness will come to the goat instead of to the cows. I didn't understand. But
It's called the sacrificial goat, not the sacrificial lamb.
right. But that whole vibe in that smaller organic dairy, you could feel it. It was so much more sattvic and wholesome.
Yeah. Well, gauchos aren't even, it's not the right idea. The idea is every family keeps cows because why? They force you to come to Sattvagun.
Uh-huh.
You have to be in Sattvagun to take care of those animals. And that's the point, right? So it's, when you do it as a commercial operation or even a gauchal, the whole point is lost. It's not about taking care of cows. It's about keeping cows as family members.
Nice. Thank you. I like that. I never even thought, I mean, for this culture in the West, having a gauchal is exalted, but that's not even the goal.
Yeah, it misses the point entirely, because we harp on cow protection, but it's not about cow protection. It's about cow culture.
Uh-huh.
And the culture of the cow and the rural culture. You have to be in Sattvagun. If you do agriculture, you have to be on time. You have to be disciplined. You have to be responsible. You can't be lazy. You have to be up in the morning.
Right.
So it forces you to come to Sattvagun. And that's what it's about. And why? Also because you can't even go to Rajagun. The bull won't go to Rajagun. You have to adjust yourself to him, right? And, if you're just growing food for your own sustenance, you don't plant 3 acres of potatoes. You plant, 300 square feet of potatoes because that's all you need. So everything is automatically adjusted. All your work is adjusted to only what's necessary, so that you have to have a little bit of Rajagun, and then you got a lot of time left over to worship the Lord.
Self-realization. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the purpose. Did you spend time yourself milking cows?
No, I didn't milk so much. Because my whole focus, even when I've stayed in villages most of the time, when I stayed in villages in Russia and Ukraine and Lithuania and Spain, but my focus has always been writing, not doing the other things. So, I write and I preach. That's
Brahminical seva.
Yeah, a few times, I'd milk the cow, but it's not something that really appealed to me.
Right. I've also heard that, because you were making a point, in order to do that seva, how did you put it? Yeah, you need to be in Sattvaguna to do that
Yeah.
service. But I've also heard that the cow is in Sattvaguna, and you become more sattvic by associating with the cow.
Exactly. My experience, the cow's sattvagun personified. I mean, just by being in their presence, And what I would do a lot is I would groom them, and they love to be groomed. It's like samadhi.
Brushing them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They like going to samadhi. They just like, they're in heaven. They love it. And I enjoyed it too, for that reason.
Cool. Yeah, cow culture, exactly. Krishna's culture is all cows. Go loka, go kula.
And they love you back. So I mean it's nice big pet.
Yeah. Yes. But probably in most cities to keep a cow would be illegal. Shikarani, did you have a cow in your family back in
Yeah,
Bihar?
yeah. I had many cows.
Really?
Yeah. Actually, it was more. So we used to live in town. So in town we cannot have, like, we'll have to have a lot of land, and in town the land is also very expensive. But in my maternal grandfather's house and also my grandfather's house, like both side, my mom and dad side, they used to have a lot of cows, ox, buffaloes, all of that. Yeah, they used to go every morning and get fresh milk, and we would have so much milk that sometimes we will have to just sell it.
What's the
Or
difference between the cow milk and the buffalo milk? The buffalo's milk is richer, I think somebody told me.
Yeah. Buffalo milk is heavy.
Uh-huh.
I heard
Mm.
Srila Prabhupada say buffalo milk, buffalo brain.
That can be true.
Well, I'm reading in Govinda Lilamrita, Krishna is keeping buffaloes also.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised to read that because I
Huh.
always thought of the buffalo as kind of the same animal, but more tamagun.
Yeah,
Mm. Yes, Mahishasur. Mahis. Yeah.
they're called mahis
Yes.
in Sanskrit.
Yeah. That's
Uh-huh.
how Mahishasur name came, right? Because he used to come sitting on the Mahish buffalo. The Mahishasur whom I think Kali, he killed him, right? She killed him.
You're
I
talking
didn't
about
follow that. Say that again.
yeah.
So you guys don't know the Mahishasur Leela. So in that one, Mahishasur was there and Kali killed him. And basically Kali became so angry that Shiva had to lie down. And that's the portrait you see so many places,
Right.
that Shiva is lying down and Kali has taken out her tongue and she's very angry.
And you're saying, but so what is the connection between that and the bull? That Lord Shiva
So,
rides on.
so the demon, his name was Mahisasur. So Mahisasur comes from the word Mahish and Asur. Mahish means
Ah,
buffalo, Asur means demon.
okay. Mahayasura. Uh-huh.
Yeah, Mahisasur. Mahish means buffalo.
The buffalo
Uh-huh.
demon.
Yeah. And
Okay.
that's why Kali is called Mahisasur Mardini. Mardini means the one who kills Mahisasur.
Okay.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Where is that? Is that in some Purana or what?
So that would be mostly in Shiv Puran or like whatever deals mostly with Shiv. So we used to watch a lot of, so mostly I would say in my generation, our exposure to all the Grantha is more through TV. So we used to watch everything in serials, and in India there are a lot of web series and all. So one was Om Namah Shivaya, that was
Uh-huh.
fully based on the life of Shiva. So
Uh-huh.
I watched it there.
Okay. So as a child, this was your what you watched. Huh?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And
A
then
lot
there
better
was,
than American cartoons.
That's for sure.
yeah, like full childhood. Sunday was Sri Krishna. Then there used to be Jai Hanuman. Then there was Om Namah Shivaya. There was Jai Ganga Maya. Jai
Nice.
Vaishno Devi. All their life biography we used to watch all the time.
Nice.
Then Ramayana, Mahabharata.
Do they still show that?
Yeah, they still do that. Yes,
Oh,
yes.
good.
But I think now the generation is becoming like we used to see more in the form of web series. Now kids are watching more in form of animations and
Right.
cartoons. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember Brahmananda some years back, he presented or was selling Ramayan. Am I pronouncing it correctly? Is it Ramayan or Ramayan?
I say
It's
Ramayana.
Ramayana. Yeah.
Ramayan, yeah.
Yes.
And it was done in Japan at a cost of, I think, a couple of $1 million to make the Ramayan.
Oh yeah, that was very good.
Yeah. But then like I shared something that you shared, Daneshwar Prabhu, some months back or whatever time it was, about the Krishna and the Chanura and Mushtika in the arena. And it was,
Mm.
in this corner, we've got Chanura, in this corner, Krishna and Balaram. And I showed that to one devotee, and his response to me was, Prabhupada didn't like us to, have cartoons that kind of makes Krishna cheap, and, it sort of devaluates him. And
I agree, but I mean, this was amongst devotees. It's not like we were preaching, using it for preaching.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. In other words, you're saying for the mass population.
Yeah, it's not something you'd show at the Sunday feast, because then people, right? They get the wrong idea.
Right.
I just thought it was, because I didn't even watch it before I showed that. I just was looking for Ramayan while we were talking, and that popped up. So I thought, oh, okay, let's have a look.
Yeah, no, I thought it was interesting, and I've often thought that in ancient times, whether it was Krishna versus Shanura or Mushtika, or whether it was Ramanujacharya versus, I don't know who were some of the challengers that he took on, but Maharaja, if a sannyasi is a Maharaja. So my understanding is that, when he's sitting on the throne, so to speak, or in our case, on the Vyasasan, he should be able to take on all comers, right? Master debater.
Yep.
One who can defeat all nonsense.
Yep. That's his role. Sure.
Not one who invites nonsense into the temple. So, yeah, I've often thought about that, the chivalrous times, of yore, where the sannyasi was like, yeah, okay, because Prabhupada says in the first canto, I think, that in order to even sit on the Vyasasan, you have to be able to defeat the 6 different types of, I guess they're atheistic philosophies, right?
Yeah.
But it's interesting to notice that Patanjali yoga is amongst them, right?
I don't know that well.
Yeah, there's Vaisheshika is in there, and the Karma Mimamsa is another one, and Patanjali yoga is there. So interesting.
Philosophy had a much higher place in culture than it does now.
Yeah, I used to be an usher back in Winnipeg, where I'm from, for the Blue Bomber football games and the Winnipeg Jets hockey games. And I just watch how people would get like so much into it. Like there was one time there was a wrestling match, and it was like a cage over them. And one little old lady who was close to the cage, she was so much into it, she picked up a chair and she started smashing. And there was the university.
Well, they do the same thing at football games, what we call soccer. The same thing, right? Why? Because it's from Brahma Samhita. Lord Vishnu's telling Brahma, he says, people have a natural tendency to some ideal, but by meditating on me, by means of those deeds, they will attain perfection. So human, the jiva, they have a tendency to worship, but it's misdirected in this material world, right? The ashraya, instead of being Krishna, is given to the different forms of material energy.
Right.
And therefore, it's always frustrating and leads to unhappiness.
Uh-huh. Hmm. But it's an innate quality in people.
Yeah.
They're looking
Yeah.
for a
Well, it's the
challenge.
same thing with worship of movie stars, you know.
Right.
It's the same thing. Our nature is to honor, to worship like that, but it's misdirected in material activities.
Instead of the romance of Krishna and Kubja, they look for Nicole Kidman and Brad Pitt or whatever, right?
Whoever.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
always see the tabloids, you know, they fall in love and they're happy, and then 2 years later they're getting divorced.
That's right. And
It's so predictable, you know.
and everyone gets into it. Oh, did he cheat on her, or did she, who
Yeah,
did
right.
what? What does it matter?
Yeah, Shukaduka.
They need the Krishna book. So Shikarani, I don't know whose turn is it. Is it your turn, Dinesh, or Shikarani's turn to read?
I don't know where we left off. Did we
Okay.
finish
I
the
can
chapter?
read if you want.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go back to sharing the screen here. And where were we? Okay, great. Uddhava appreciated.
1 second. Just putting my phone on charge. Uddhava appreciated the exalted position of the gopis and wished to fall down and take the dust of their feet on his head. Yet he did not dare to ask the gopis to offer the dust from their feet. Perhaps they would not be agreeable. He therefore desired to have his head smeared with the dust of the gopis' feet without their knowledge. He desired to become only an insignificant clump of grass or herbs in the land of Vrindavana. The gopis were so much attracted to Krishna that when they heard the vibration of his flute, they instantly left their families, children, honor, and feminine bliss, bashfulness, and ran towards the place where Krishna was standing. They did not consider whether they were passing over the road or through the jungles. Imperceptibly, the dust of their feet was bestowed on small grasses and herbs of Vrindavana. Not daring to place the dust of the gopis' feet on his own head, Uddhava aspired to have a future birth in the position of a clump of grass and herbs. He would then be able to have the dust of the gopis' feet.
Uddhava appreciated the extraordinary fortune of the gopis, who relieved themselves of all kinds of material contamination by placing on their high, beautiful breasts the lotus feet of Krishna, which are not only worshipped by the goddess of fortune, but by such exalted demigods as Brahma and Lord Shiva, and which are meditated upon by great yogis within their hearts. Thus, Uddhava desired to be able to constantly pray to be honored by the dust of the gopis' lotus feet. The gopis' chanting of the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna has become celebrated all over the three worlds.
After living in Vrindavan for some days, Uddhava desired to go back to Krishna, and he begged permission to leave from Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda. He had a farewell meeting with the gopis, and taking permission of them, also he mounted his chariot and started for Mathura. When Uddhava was about to leave, all the inhabitants of Vrindavan, headed by Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, came to bid him goodbye and presented him with various kinds of valuable goods secured in Vrindavan. They expressed their feelings with tears in their eyes due to intense attachment for Krishna. All of them desired benediction from Uddhava. They desired always to remember the glorious activities of Krishna and wanted their minds to be always fixed upon his lotus feet, their words always engaged in glorifying Krishna, their bodies always engaged in bowing down and constantly remembering him. This prayer of the inhabitants of Vrindavan is a super excellent type of self-realization. The method is very simple: to fix the mind always on the lotus feet of Krishna, to talk always of Krishna without passing on to any other subject matter, and to engage the body in Krishna's service constantly Specifically in this human form of life, one should engage his life, his resources, words, and intelligence for the service of the Lord. Such kinds of activities only can elevate a human being to the highest level of perfection. This is the verdict of all authorities.
The inhabitants of, oh no, now it's Sikarani's turn.
The inhabitants of Vrindavana said, by the will of the Supreme Authority and according to the results of our own work, we may take our birth anywhere. It doesn't matter where we are born, but our only prayer is that we may simply be engaged in Krishna consciousness. A pure devotee of Lord Krishna never desires to be promoted to the heavenly planets or even to Vaikuntha or Goloka Vrindavan because he has no desire for his own personal satisfaction. A pure devotee regards both heaven and hell to be on equal level. Without Krishna, heaven is hell, and with Krishna, hell is heaven.
Really interesting how the gopis had, or the inhabitants of Vrindavan rather, they're experiencing no anxiety or fear about where they would take their birth, as long as that they're engaged in serving Krishna and Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, there's another half a paragraph there.
Oh, excuse me. Okay, that's the next photo. All right.
Oh, you got them
okay.
connected to the different photos.
Yeah, I try to create. I search for photos to go with every section.
The next one should start with a pure devotee regards both heaven and, oh no, when Uddhava had sufficiently honored. Yeah, okay.
Right. When Uddhava had sufficiently honored the worship of the pure devotees of Vrindavan, he returned to Mathura and to his master Krishna. After offering respects by bowing down before Lord Krishna and Balaram, he began to describe the wonderful devotional life of the inhabitants of Vrindavan. He presented all of the gifts given by the inhabitants of Vrindavan to Vasudeva, the father of Krishna, and Ugrasen, the grandfather of Krishna. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 46th chapter of Krishna, delivery of the message of Krishna. So,
To the gopis. So I have one comment, and
yeah.
that is, the greeting of guests and seeing them off is an extremely important part of Vedic culture. And
Right.
Prabhupada does not spell that out specifically, but one devotee I know who was, well, you probably know her. No. Anyway, one devotee, she's come from Indian family.
Yeah.
And Sikarani, you may know about this also. But she was the one who pointed this out to me, that in the Hindu culture, particularly, that the greeting of guests, guests must be given great honor and respect and greeted properly.
Yeah.
And I know in our American culture, I was never trained like that. And when I would go to India and places like that, I would become embarrassed to see how they would
I know.
give such nice
It's
treatment,
true.
Yeah.
and it makes you feel so wonderful. So Sikarani, tell us about that, how you were trained in that culture like that.
Yeah, that is true. So we say Atithi Devo Bhava. So that means guests are like God. So basically, whenever in old age, when guests will come, they will actually get water and basically literally clean their feet because they would come from far off places. Like in old age, they won't have those slippers and floaters also, right? So they would come walking. So they will they will clean their feet, then they will make like 55 items of food and everything, like to serve them. Even if the person is really poor, they will try everything. Like, so Brahmins in old age who used to go just for Viksha. Viksha means they will go for alms. They would go door to door and ask for like how I think sannyasis don't make their own food, right? They are kind
Right.
of dependent on others. So same way
Yeah.
Brahmins were, most of the Brahmins were like that. They were dependent on others. So, but they will go door to door, and people will, by willing, they will give. So even those Brahmins, if some guests come, they will give away their own food to the guest, and
Wow.
they would just remain hungry or not
Wow.
eat. And
Wow.
but they will make
Yeah.
sure that the guest eats.
Who is that? That example from the Bhagavatam? King who? Riga. King
Ranti Dev.
Rantide. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
He,
And
he,
even that
he was even
example of,
ready to cut off a slice of his own flesh, right?
yes, yes, even in Mahabharat, Karna was very big kind of person, like whoever comes and asks him anything he will give. Then even the Bhamana Leela, that is also kind of where they asked and he promised to give, right? So the Brahman came and asked for 3 steps of land, and who was
Yeah.
Krishna himself. So yeah, a lot of instances.
Why
Yeah.
was
Yeah. Yeah.
why was Ranti Dev ready to offer his flesh? He actually had nothing he could offer.
I don't remember the story that well.
Me neither. Yeah. What you're reminding me of is the first time I went to Vrindavan, excuse me, Mayapur. Um, I went to get my Brahminical initiation. It was 77, last chance to see Prabhupada. And I remember walking outside the walls of Mayapur Chandrodaya Mandir into the sandy road there. I don't. Is that called Bhaktivedanta Marg? That's only in
No, Bhakti Siddhanta.
Oh, Bhakti Siddhanta. Okay, thank you. Yeah, and when I walked out there, I was in my freshly shaved up and had my bead bag and my dhoti and kurta, and I'm going to go see how the people live out in the villages. And these elderly men and women in their, they look like in their 70s, 80s. They were coming up to me and they're touching my feet. And I felt totally embarrassed. I thought, gee, 2 years ago, I was playing the blues in bars while people were drinking
Yeah.
beers. And here they're coming and they're showing me all this respect. I was overwhelmed with affection for them.
The
Wow.
first time I experienced that was when when I came to Vancouver, was temple president there.
Yeah.
And when I would visit, the Indian devotees' houses, and how they just make you feel so wonderful.
Yeah.
It's just like, and I mean, there's no place in America that you'd have such an experience like that. I mean, we just don't have that culture. And
Yeah.
it was so nice.
Well, sometimes we talk about Southern hospitality, whatever that, I'm not sure what that means, but I don't think it can compare to Vedic hospitality.
Yeah.
So that's why Prabhupada said something to the effect that he wanted all devotees to spend some time in India with the families so that we could see what Vedic culture actually was.
Yeah. There was one, I can't remember, one god brother who spent quite a bit of time in India. And he made that exact comment that, you're there and you see how the people live the culture. It's not just something you read in the book, they're actually doing it. And they do it, like every culture, you're trained in it from the time you're children. And so it becomes a second habit to you, very natural. And, you experience what that's like. And it's just so wonderful. And I've thought, how do we adopt that culture over here? And I'm quite at a loss because I'm not such a cultured person. And, I'm very forgetful of such things. And, but, we should, what Prabhupada say, something about cultural conquest.
Right.
So, that's part of the culture.
Yeah, when all those people were coming to touch my feet, I was thinking, wow, Prabhupada has given me a huge legacy here, to live up to come up to this standard where I'm actually worthy of this. They're actually thinking I'm there and I know I'm not.
Yeah.
So
Well, you know what you do in that situation, because I experienced that with the devotees in Eastern Europe and Russia and everything, simply by dint of being a Prabhupada disciple. They're giving all this honor, and I realized very quickly, this is not for me, because why are they doing it? Not just for who I am, I'm nobody, right? But because I happen to have a relationship with Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada,
yeah, yeah,
therefore all of this honor goes to him. It's
yes,
not for me. And
yeah,
if I don't offer it up, if I keep it for myself, I'm going to get in trouble.
yeah. Remember Mahaduri Swami said to me a few years ago, Gora, just come to Russia. You'll love preaching there. He said, you'll have a hard time even putting your own shoes on. And I thought, and I said that to a godbrother, and he said, well, then maybe that's a good reason not to go, because you don't want, that's not going to be very good for you. And I thought, yeah, he's
No,
probably
well, no, I mean, if it's very easy that you think you keep it for yourself, in that
right.
case, you get in trouble, you know? No, the honor is for Krishna. The honor goes up and the mercy comes down.
Yeah, nicely put. Mhm. Yeah. Um, understanding our, yeah, I mean, so much has been lost, even in our own. I mean, that's why Abhiram Prabhu told me he doesn't go on Facebook, because he said the devotees there are too egalitarian. They don't consider
Yeah,
that
there's no culture.
right,
Yeah.
that anyone can just attack anybody, they can say anything. Not very conducive, depending, of course that blocking feature is always there.
Yeah, but still, I mean, no, nobody's training the devotees, whoever they're supposed to be training. I take it when something like that happens, I think of myself, okay, I'm a senior devotee. It's my job to train like
Yeah.
this. And I try to correct people nicely. And sometimes they accept it, sometimes they don't.
Because there's the instruction, don't give good instruction to a fool or to someone who's not your student, because you'll just make them angry at you.
Yeah. Yeah. If they're not submissive, then it's a waste of time. You have to create space for people to learn. And the way I do that is by asking questions. I don't try to correct directly. I'll say something. Did you know that Rupa Goswami said
uh-huh
something like that, rather than saying, you should do it like this,
right.
which is just the same thing they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because also asking a question is never an offense.
Although it many times is taken like that.
It's true. It's true. I've seen people respond angrily just by asking the question.
Yeah.
Delicate.
Anyway, people are who they are, and you see where they're at like that. A person who's proud, you can't give them any kind of instruction, even by asking a question. So, but
Right.
that's okay. Then you back off.
One of the aspects of this chapter that I really like is that Uddhava was thinking, well, I can't actually say what Uddhava was thinking. I don't want to be so presumptuous, but externally, it appears that Uddhava was being sent on behalf of Krishna to relieve the anxiety of the devotees and perhaps of the gopis. And perhaps that was, that is one of the reasons. But we also know that Krishna wanted Uddhava to go beyond his he's a Jnani Bhakta, or he was in Aishvarya, that to see the intimacy of the gopis, to see their mood.
Yeah, I don't know the background.
Yeah, I read that he, because he's a student of Brihaspati, so he's vastly learned.
And he must be very qualified to practically have the same features as Krishna.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Wonderful pastime. So yeah, we'll be going on to Kubja next, Kubja part 2, because Krishna
Well,
had already.
what about your friend? Be careful where you invite that lady.
Come and learn about the Lord and the prostitute. So in other words, you're saying perhaps it's not the best.
Well, not for the next week or Wednesday. We're not having a thing Wednesday. Come Friday.
It's a pretty exalted topic. Yet Prabhupada said it doesn't matter where you bite in. It's like a sugar
Yeah,
doll.
but still, come on. You want to introduce somebody to Christian consciousness, have a little discretion.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Time, place, and circumstance.
Hmm.
All right. Anyway, thank you both for joining me, and thank you for the slap of reality here. That my clock says 10 to 7 right now, so I'm like over 2 hours behind.
Well, I'll fix it. It's 9 o'clock.
It's,
9:05.
the battery must have worn out. I'll just put a new
Yeah.
battery.
Yeah.
So
And nice to have your association. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
yeah, just to give you a recap, Nanda Patni is recovering from an operation. Nrihari Prabhu had a fall because there was a flooding in their house,
Oh,
and
Oh,
he may have broken some ribs. I'm not sure on that.
oh,
Ivan Mukta said he's as sick as a dog. He hasn't eaten in 5 days.
really?
Yeah, I should actually give him a call just to see how he's doing. Tridandi Maharaj had gotten out of the hospital for his heart spasms, and he said he was going to Bangalore for Ayurvedic heart cleansing, but he said he just misses Godrum Dweep too much, the Swananda Kunj, where he stays, Bhaktivinoda's house, so he's gone back to Mayapur. But yeah, a lot of devotees are experiencing some illness right now of various kinds.
hmm.
So I hope they'll get better and we can see them on Wednesday.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. I hope so too.
And when you have time, please, Shikarani, please check how we can switch over to my other email, because my Goradas 108 account is about to close down because it's getting too many messages that the Daneshwars come to go on your Zoom, Nanda Patni's come for your Zoom, this one's coming, and they're at like 95% full.
I'll turn off those notices.
Oh,
There must be some way to turn them off.
I don't know. I'm depending on Sikarani. She's the digital wizard.
I'll look into that.
Okay. Are you okay, Sikarani, yourself?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Why do you sit in the dark?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Are you in your bedroom? Somebody's sleeping already?
No, I was not feeling good today, actually.
Oh,
Okay.
you too. Okay, well, we help you feel better.
Yeah, I hope
Yeah.
so.
Nice of
Yeah.
you to come and get the medicine of Krishna Katha.
Yes, that's why. Yeah.
Thank you for coming. My obeisances to you both.
Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai,
Hare
Jai.